welcome back. Today, I'm recording from bed because I feel like it, and I feel a solid 2 out of 10, maybe 1. I'm just going through it. Having mental illness is extremely difficult. And for those that are new here, I'm diagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder, borderline personality disorder, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I often joke and say I have A to Z because I have the whole kerfuffle. And right now, I think it's a blend of everything, to be honest, but the most significant piece that's playing a role in my suffering is definitely the BPD. And I've actually never recorded an episode on BPD, which is surprising because it's like my leading disorder. It was something that I gained a significant amount of relief when being diagnosed with, because I was like, oh, I'm not just insane, I'm like textbook insane. Like, you can explain this and like, it's okay to be this insane. It just felt like uncharted territories before. I felt like I was like blindly living through life and just feeling things on an extreme level that other people couldn't relate to. And I was often like classified as super dramatic and extremely emotional and hard to deal with. And those can be true for sure. I think when you're undiagnosed or unmedicated or like untreated and don't have therapy for BPD, you can be extremely detrimental to yourself and other people around you. That's just a fact. But yeah, I got diagnosed, I want to say it was like 8 years ago by the therapist that I had. And she was like, you have BPD for sure. And honestly, she read the symptoms to me, and I'm going to read them with you here in a minute because all of them related to me. I was like, holy shit, I feel like I can like identify my trauma better, and I can understand myself more, and I can explain myself to partners. And the way that BPD is explained, it's like a personality disorder. That's the way they call it. It's borderline personality disorder, but that doesn't really explain it. It should be called an emotional dysregulation disorder. It shouldn't be called a person. Like, what do you mean I have 2 personalities? That doesn't really make any sense. It kind of does, but it just sells it short. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around BPD and people who have it. I think it's been really like demonized in public figures in Hollywood, and people who have it are like, they're crazy, they're insane. They're not. They're just reacting a proportionate amount to the pain that they feel. We feel pain 10 times greater than the average person. Our suicide rate is the highest out of all mental health disorders, which is very concerning, but felt. And if you're listening and watching and you also have it, you know. And it's just truly awful. And I wanted to record one a long time ago, and I didn't. And then I was single for so long. And something about borderline is it's very much a relationship disorder. It surfaces when you're in close proximity to someone that you care about. It can be triggered by friendships. I've had it triggered by friendships, but typically the root of it kind of stems from abandonment wounds from romantic partners. So when I'm single, it's barely there. And I honestly thought I was cured. And I feel like I always think I'm cured every time I'm single. I'm like, I don't even have BPD. Like, am I better than everyone? What the fuck? And I have this whole like epiphany of thinking that I've healed. And I have healed in a lot of ways, but not to the point of not having it. I think it's really hard to get to that level. And I don't even know if people have, to be honest. I think there's skills that can help you cope and like manage your pain, but there's no cure for it. There's no like magic pill. It's a very complex disorder, and it's rooted from intense abuse and neglect and from the ages of 0 to 6. There are some studies that think that it's hereditary, but there's significantly more that point to it being neglect and abuse in early years. And my childhood was far from safe, and there was a lot of abuse and a lot of neglect, and our brains are wired differently as a result. The amygdala in the front of your brain that processes emotions, it's bigger in size and than like a typical neurotypical person or someone without BPD. So we feel things on just like such an immense level. Like it's just my therapist used to say, like, you have like a NASA-sized satellite that has these receptors and these things that try and keep you safe. And it's just brutal. And I really didn't feel like recording an episode today, because it's hard when you're in a headspace like this to want to lead and provide information and help other people. But I think like there's really no better time to record than when I'm going through it. And I think I do it for people who have BPD first, and then the people who love people with BPD as well, because it is a really difficult mental illness to navigate, both having it and loving someone who has it. So I hope this brings more insight to someone who's struggled with it their whole life and has a better grip on it now, but still, it's still there. I'm going to read the 9 symptoms of BPD. I believe right now you need 5 or more to like qualify for actually having this. It seems I still have it. Frantic efforts to avoid abandonment, an intense fear of being rejected that can lead to desperate efforts to prevent it, either real or imagined. Unstable relationships, a pattern of intense relationships that are marked by swinging between extremes of idealization, seeing someone as perfect, and devaluation, seeing them as flawed. Unstable self-image, a distorted and unstable sense of self leading to rapidly changing goals, values, or even career plans. Impulsivity, engaging in at least 2 potentially self-damaging behaviors such as reckless spending, substance abuse, binge eating, reckless driving, or unsafe sex. Reoccurrent suicidal behavior, gestures, threats, or self-harm. This includes repeated acts of self-injury. Affective instability, marked mood swings with episodes of intense sadness, irritability, or anxiety that can last for a few hours up to a few days. Chronic feelings of emptiness, a persistent sense of loneliness and inner emptiness. Fuck, this is sad to read. Inappropriate, intense anger. Inappropriate, it's subjective. It's appropriate, but okay. Difficulty controlling anger, which can manifest as frequent displays of temper, constant anger, or recurrent physical fights. Transient paranoia or dissociation, stress-related paranoia, thoughts of severe dissociative symptoms such as feeling disconnected from oneself or reality. Yeah, those are the 9. I have all 9. Seems I still have BPD. Fuck. And honestly, as I was reading them, I feel like I should like read them off and like explain my own experiences with these. I feel like that would be a cool approach for this episode. How's my little mic? My electrolytes, because I've been crying. But yeah, I feel like I always knew that I was different, for sure. I feel like I was like discluded a lot from birthday parties and things like that growing up in school, because I was just an intense person, an extreme person. No one really knew where to place me or how to cope with me. And then obviously that left me with a lot of insecurities of like who I am and how I'm perceived by the world. And then I think having such an unstable childhood, having to navigate abuse with also these like undiagnosed and untreated mental health disorders just made it like catastrophic. And I feel like I searched for romantic partners that mirrored the love I was given, which was not actually love. So I feel like my life got worse before it got better. And that's fucking excruciating. But sending love to anyone who is going through it, because holy fuck. Okay. The frantic efforts to avoid abandonment. An intense fear of being rejected that can lead to desperate efforts to prevent it, either real or imagined. That's huge, because heavy on the imagination. I think a lot of BPDs are honestly probably creatives too, because our imagination is like unbelievable. Like I'd actually like people who have BPD to like report back on that and relate if you feel like you're also creative. That could just be something I made up in my own mind, because our imagination is wild. But the whole disorder stems around fear of abandonment. And I remember my therapist telling me, like, you can't be abandoned. Like, you're 30. This was years ago. I'm now 33, but like you're fully functioning adult. Like, you cannot be abandoned. And the root of that pain stems from unstable childhood years and all of the trauma that comes with that. But so something as simple, say you're in a relationship, something as simple as your partner saying, I'm going on a last minute business trip, that can trip it, because then all of a sudden you're like, are they going to leave me? Are they ever going to come home? Are they going to meet somebody else? Like, it doesn't, they're going on a business trip. There's nothing objectively wrong with that. But in our BPD mind, we are constantly scanning for danger and what ifs, and what if this happens, and how are they going to do this, and if they do this. And I feel like, I'm sure those with BPD can relate, the graphic images that can pop into your head and feel like horrific. I feel like sometimes I'm living in a horror movie because of the way that my brain is developed. And I have done a lot of things in past relationships to try to avoid real or imagined abandonment. And that includes anything from like self-harm. I mean, I've used to cut, I used to burn, thrown my head through drywall a few times. I typically get violent with myself, not really others. But there was one time that I definitely tried to like smash my ex's car window. And I didn't succeed because I just used my arm and my fist. I mean, I tried really hard, but it was kind of like really disappointing and unsatisfying because fuck. So there's a lot. And I get from the outside looking in, like I looked crazy. And to be fair, in moments I did act crazy. I want to be very careful with my wording of this. I own that I feel crazy and I've acted crazy, but I don't want anyone to feel shamed by that word. I think that word can be misused and be triggersome. I own it because I do feel like my behaviors have been crazy, but I have an extremely painful mental health disorder, and it feels like you're grasping at ways to cope. And when you don't know you have it, or you're untreated, or you're unmedicated, like these feel like normal reactions. Like punching someone's car feels like I could have done more. I should have lit it on fire. Like that is how much rage was inside of me and how much pain is inside of me. Like it's so hard to understand if you don't have this disorder. Like even something as simple as one of my exes went to work and didn't kiss me goodbye and didn't say goodbye. I lost it. Not on him, but I was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, you're gone. Like it's just like the craziest, smallest thing to maybe another person is catastrophic for us. Like that felt like my family dog died and I was on the floor grieving. Like it is horrific and it is so extremely painful. I feel like I don't have enough words to articulate how painful it is. But if you've ever seen someone in a BPD episode or you've been in one yourself, like, you know, it's horrific. And to self-mutilate, self-harm, idealize suicide is a terrible place to be and a terrible place to watch someone be if you're in love with someone who has this disorder. But it's very real for us. It's very real, I think, because of the extremities of our actions and our emotions in those moments. I think a lot of people can just be like, you're crazy. And I've been called crazy a bunch of times. I get it. And I can see how the way that I acted makes people feel like I was. And I fully own that. And yeah, it's difficult. There's a lot more books on how to cope with someone that you love having BPD versus how to cope with having BPD. And I think that says a lot for the BPD community. And we already feel misunderstood by everyone. So I think that's really difficult. But yeah, I'm like super emotional right now. I'm actually impressed with myself that I'm recording an episode because what the fuck. But I hope this brings people comfort. I hope it brings education on BPD. We need more representation of this disorder, and I'm happy to give it to you guys. Number 2, unstable relationships, a pattern of intense relationships that are marked by swinging between extremes of idealization, seeing someone as perfect, and devaluation, seeing them as flawed. This is called splitting, and actually all human beings do it, but people with BPD do it on a catastrophic level. So a generic example of splitting is if you go on a date with someone and it goes really well and you're like, oh my God, I could see me having babies with them and I want to name our kids this, but then they don't text you right away and you're like, you know what, actually fuck them. They're a piece of shit. They're a waste of my time. That is splitting. Like I said, all humans possess this ability to do it, but people who do not have BPD, they have a gray area. People with BPD do not. We have white and we have black, and that is how we think, that is how we feel, that is how we register, process, internalize everything. So without having a gray period, it's extremely hard to navigate literally life. It's hard to have a relationship with yourself because you also split on yourself. I have moments where I'm like, I'm amazing and I'm successful and I'm beautiful and I'm worthy. And then I have moments where I'm like, I'm a piece of shit. I'm not successful enough. I'm a terrible human being. I question all the time if I'm a good person. All the time I ask my friends, am I a good person? Because we have such an unstable sense of self because of the way we think. And that's just a horrific way to live. What the fuck? So yeah, splitting in relationships is super common. I mean, if I'm in a relationship and they do something, even if it's the smallest trigger, I'm like, you're an op. I don't trust you. I back away. I'm like, no. Because our brains are constantly scanning for the most horrific danger because we've endured it. And that scanning is exhausting for you, for your partners, for everyone around you, right? So that's a really challenging piece of it for sure. That's definitely something I've always done, but never had a name to describe it before. And then the next point is unstable self-image, which I kind of just talked about. A distorted and unstable sense of self leading to rapidly changing goals, values, or even career plans. When I tell y'all I have a new business plan every day, I do think that's my CEO brain, but I also think it's my BPD brain. All right, guys, that was just a taste. The full episode, the raw, unfiltered version, is waiting for you on Patreon. This season is different. I'm talking sex parties, heartbreak, identity shifts, imposter syndrome, the shit I've never said out loud. No edits, no filters, no fluff. If you're ready to hear the full story, you know where to find me. Link is in the show notes, and I'll see you on the inside.